that's what we're going on. So yeah, so I'm from Fredericksburg. I do reside here. Currently, I do work with a family business that's being owned, but my main gig right now is working with autistic kids. So I've been doing that for a little over a year now. It's a pretty good experience, very like enlightening. You know, you see the struggles that special needs people go through, kind of on a daily basis. You know, it looks at, you have to look at life a little differently because you see what they're looking at every day. You know, you see what their struggles are. Just like everybody has their struggles, one person's different than others. You know what I mean? So it kind of opens your eyes to things you didn't know before, which is really cool. But as fulfilling as that work is, probably the most fulfilling work I've ever done in my life. You know, I do always kind of strive to be my own boss. I would like to pay my own bills and as far as write my own paychecks and stuff like that. So that's kind of where the photography aspect comes into play, as well as that kind of rolls into creative nature. And right now it's kind of one hand feeding the other because I actually have the company Clutch Paintball. You can find it on Instagram and Facebook, just like the sound, like smelling. So that is like why I kind of picked up photography was to get content from my paintball company, and that kind of led into, all right, well, if you're good at paintball photography, you need to be good at kind of all photography. So I'm definitely learning some new stuff about it. I was somewhere that my own boss basically so that's kind of like where it is. And like I said, you know, one art has to feed another, so I have to be kind of good in one lane to be proficient in another and really make an impact. So I kind of have my hand in a lot of different pots right now. You can have like 4 part-time jobs, even though one's pretty full-time, another is pretty full-time, and then of course my creative endeavors are always full-time. You're always kind of like taking in things, you know, whether it's movies, music, you know, things, statues, whatever it is, you're always kind of taking it. Photography has definitely made me kind of try to level up my game. Like I started looking at Monet paintings, Michelangelo's and Mark Rothko's and stuff like that, and like wanting to do more kind of arts. I think it's a good way of looking at history. I feel like you know, every time you politically, you don't really know what happened this last year. You're kind of confused if you explain to your kids. You're like, I know this could have happened, but I don't really know, right? Yeah. Whereas if you look back at the arts, everybody knows the Free Britney movement right now. Like everybody knows that her dad is like kind of being a scumbag type deal. Because everybody's looking at that. People care more about art than they do these days about politics and stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of how history's been forever. I mean, you know, down with this artist, up with this artist, whether it's Da Vinci or Plato or where, you know, all these philosophers and stuff like that. Those were our Brad Pitts and Angelina Jolie's back then and stuff. And they great art to work. So,
yeah, I like that thought process.
Well, and that's the thing.
Da Vinci was Brad Pitt.
Yeah, you know, like, but that's how people kind of looked at things back then. And yeah, that's kind of what I look at. Like, if you look at any of the rappers that we've lost in the last few years, what lives on, their music, you know, their ideas and stuff like that. Same with artists and stuff like that. We have Michelangelo's, we have Mac Miller's, we have, you know, Triple X's, we have, you know, Juice WRLD's. We also have, you know, Plato, who's dealing with philosophy. We also have, you know, Mozart, who gave us great music. You know, what these artists gave us in their time lives on. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of try to do, is just leave something past myself. You know, so.
That's fantastic. I like how you're able to tie all that and bring it back together. And then, so how long have you been? Are you part of the collective, or are you just kind of like? I
think I'm starting up today. Actually, I think that's the plan. Honestly, I like the fact of having, you know, as I kind of told a few different people today, it's like, you know, you start talking about afters and people's eyes glaze over, and you're like, oh, all right, like I lost this one. Yeah. But then you meet some people that out here that are pretty serious about, you know, photography. I think it's a kind of a good way to like, oh, you know, like bounce ideas. You know, I always like the idea of learning from somebody else, because one, you never know everything in this world, and you can always learn something from somebody else, whether they're older or whether they're younger. I mean, I work with kids every day, and these, you know, like especially these kids, they surprise me every day. I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right, buddy. You got a great way of looking. Okay, I'm gonna do it like that from now on. You know what I mean? It makes sense. So you can always learn something if you look hard enough. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way I want to be. You know, you're never always right. Sometimes you're wrong, and sometimes you learn something. So.
Very true, very true. And okay, so you said you started with the paintball. That's where it all kind of took off for you. And then since, like, how long have you been doing it? And have you found any specific style that you are more inclined to? Or,
so this is one of my first times kind of shooting street photography. I haven't been doing a lot of portraits, I feel like, lately, because I'm just trying to like kind of pick an avenue and like you know, tie into it. But I've probably been shooting right now for about 4 or 5 months. Nothing too crazy, but I have had a few people change profile pictures. I know it's a dumb accolade, but it is something. So I'm like, all right, well, somebody likes my photography. One of the kids I took photos for the other day, he had a bunch of my photos printed out. He liked them so much, he's framing them and put them on his wall. So I'm like, all right, so we're like in a lane. People are liking the art you're putting out here. So it's like, you know, this could be your niche, this could be your thing, you know, and like, I like the creative endeavor. I've kind of always had my hand in separate, like, creative, like, works. I mean, whether it's, you know, the paintball stuff, because I can also do, like, clothing kind of designs, like jerseys and stuff for paintball. You know, I used to DJ down in Richmond, so it's, like, musically I like to, like, kind of be inclined and stuff like that. And this is just a more concise effort to sit there and be involved. It's like, I think photography is going to stick with me for a long, long time. And I really appreciate it, like, art.
Okay, great. And what would you say, you know, for people who are just tapping into it? You know, because I mean, we don't start out as professionals. So, I mean, what would you say for someone just kind of getting into specifically street photography and like why? What sets street photography apart?
So street photography, I mean, what sets it apart really is like the fact that you kind of have to incorporate different elements. You know, like, of course there is some beauty in like the simplicity of a black and white photo of a girl walking across a crosswalk. I mean, there's some simplicity and greatness out of that, but then it's also the complex things of putting stuff in the foreground, putting the foliage in front of, you know, maybe a cathedral with the blue sky behind it, and the clouds behind it, and stuff like that, and then, you know, you got the power line and stuff like that. There's multiple elements that you can incorporate, and you kind of have to. You got to look at the world a little differently. You don't just want to take things the way like every, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry is looking at the world. You want to have that different perspective. You're like, oh, this is kind of different, and I think that's the beauty of it. But don't be intimidated by any of this stuff, like getting into cameras. Like, I know I was, you know what I mean? Like, oh, ISO apertures, you know, manual focus. Like, the first lens I got was a 70 to 200 manual focus lens on a D5100. So I'm like, oh, I got this Canon on the front of it, and I got to manually focus it. So it's like, well, there's nothing to kind of like, you know, make you, like, just keep plugging away at it, basically. You know, the more you get out there, the more you try, the more you stay consistent with it, the better you're going to be. And that's like anything.
Okay, perfect. And then anything you want to add or we're commenting just for this event specifically today? Like, how has it been so far? Even though it's what? Hour in? Yeah.
So far today, I've already had a great time, honestly. Like, I mean, I might drop the skateboard out later and maybe go a little farther out and try to get some different shots, but so far, it's like on the 2 feet, been having a good time. You know, this event, I turned 27 this month, in my first photography contest, so it's like, I'm hyped, always trying something different, always learning things. So I'm like, I love the fact that I have an opportunity to do something like this right now, so, and especially in my hometown of Fredericksburg. Hoorah, like, go Fredericksburg, you know what I mean? You guys are another notch up. I'm normally like, me and Fredericksburg going back and forth sometimes, so the fact that, you know, you guys are doing something to me, I love it. So, definitely down.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I know I just be rambling, so hopefully you can get some good like sound bites out of that.
I love people who talk. Because trying to